Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. We are here ahead of game week 1 for our team selection. Myself and my very good friend Jake. How are you doing, mate? You doing good? You doing good? You feeling ready for the
Yeah,
new
mate.
season?
Oh, I'm so ready, mate. I really can't wait. Only one more sleep and it's back, baby.
I mean, you sounded absolutely thrilled, to be honest.
Only one more sleep and it's back, baby. That felt forced, to be
It
fair.
did feel very forced. Yeah, yeah. We're
You
not
can
about that.
remove the gum from my head now.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. No more. No more. No more. I'll put the gun away. We'll get back to just chatting regularly. I can already
But
see
yeah,
we've.
I am looking
Oh,
forward to it.
good. Just interrupt me as I'm about to speak. It's fine, mate. The duo. It just flows naturally,
If it's
really.
just so fluent, isn't it?
Yeah. I can already see we've got multiple channel members and chat moderators in the chat. George Kent, Caleb, Laura Riley, Offcore as well as in here. Absolutely brimming. So great to see you all back for the new FPL season. Like I said, me and Jake will be running through our team selection for game week 1, but this is also a live Q&A, so do get your questions in if you do have any related to game week 1 or FPL in general this season as well. As someone said tomorrow, the deadline stream, it's going to be about 3 hours. We're going to do a 3 hour deadline stream tomorrow. So that's not fun for me. I mean, it's fun for you guys, but by the end of it, probably not going to be a person. Just going to be like an amoeba just
You
on
won't
the
even watch
seat.
the game. You'll have done
No,
your football for the
I'll just
weekend.
be like, right, I've had enough of football. There's also going to be an hour stream at 1 o'clock tomorrow as well, like a preview one where I'll just be on my own. So make sure you are, subscribed, got the bell notification on as well, so you will be notified when I do go live. And we will be doing draft reviews in both of those streams as well. If you do want your draft review in though, right this second, go to the link in the description. You can get your draft rated for free by AI, and Fantasy Football are currently running a 50% off sale as well. That does run out tomorrow. So if you do want to sign up for that one and go for any of the cool features that we've outlined in pre-season, get yourself down there, and it helps the channel. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win. Someone just put 3 hours. Oh my god, yeah, it's going to be painful to say the least. It'll be fun. Jake might pop in the chat a little bit later as well. He might
Oh, I'll
send his
be
team.
there. Don't you worry.
There we go.
I've got I've got no girlfriend. I've just got I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but I've got a telly with a footballer on it.
Sorry. What's gonna be next to you? Is
I'm
it?
being way too subtle.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'll definitely be there, Tom.
Yeah. Lube and toilet roll in hand as well.
Yeah, somewhere along those lines.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so, mate. Cool. Let's start off with your team first, then, Jake. Talk me through it. Obviously, we made some updates, or you made some updates, should I say, after last week's stream. Talk me through it. What have you changed? Who's your captain? Who do you expect to do well this week?
Okay, well, I think we clarified it last week, and I think anyone that wasn't there will completely agree. If you're going to have Haaland in, let's just fight the elephant in the room because that's been the debate all throughout pre-season. Do you have Haaland? Do you have Salah? Do you have both? What do you go for? I think if you're going to have Haaland, as we've clarified previously, and as I'm sure people will agree, you need to be 99% of the time captaining him. So he is going to be my game week 1 captain, I believe. I don't really feel like I can confidently say Salah's going to have a crazy start. He has got a very good record, mind you. Although I feel like last season did he break his record of scoring in every single Premier League first game? I can't remember. Can't actually remember who he played, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I know Salah was very had a very good record at the start of the season, but for some reason, but if you're going to have Haaland as well, I feel like you need to back him. Um, Especially in the form he's in, especially in how uncertain Chelsea is setting up, and especially because he scored a hat trick in pre-season against the same team. So yeah, that's where we'll start. But going from goal, yeah, keeper stays the same. My defense is probably where it's changed the most significantly. I've removed Gahey, who I had last week. I was kind of preempting him to be moving to Newcastle,
Hmm.
but I've now gone a little bit safer, I think, because I've saved a little bit of money by getting rid of Trent as well. My back three starting was Trent, Gahey, and Milenkovic from Nottingham Forest. That has now fully changed it within a few days to now Ped Porro, Kwanzaa, and Willy Bolly. I just think they're a little bit more sensible, thanks to your wonderful advice as always, Tom. But yeah, I do think Bolly makes more sense, especially when we're trying to be. I think we're striking whilst the iron is hot, as you could say, regarding Forest. We're not going to have them for the whole season, but you want to make sure that you jump on the chance in case that they do make the most of their really good fixtures to start the season. I
Hmm.
don't really want to be in an iron over whether the player's even going to feature. So yeah, that's why I've gone for Bolly there. Kwanzaa, though, I know that's a slight risk, but he's a 4.5 million risk, and he's someone that will be rotated throughout the season, so he's not a bad alternative to have. And Pedparo is just a cheaper version of Trent, where I can afford a little bit more quality higher up the field, which moves nicely onto midfield, where we've got Salah still, we've got Gibbs White still, we've got Carvalho still, but I have slightly upgraded because I've not once again I've taken the risk of Somerville, a new signing, someone you said West Ham fans don't actually believe will start the season, and I can understand why with the firepower they now have, along with what they already had. And then you've got Anthony Gordon, who is the home goal scorer expert. They're playing at home to Southampton, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I feel like that is almost written in the stars, especially when you compare it to having Somerville. I think Gordon just makes more sense. They've got a decent start to the season as well, Newcastle, and I feel like having no Newcastle player could turn out to be a little bit of a kick to the dick, I was going to say. So let's commit to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and then yeah, Gibbs White stays. I feel like we've been through that plenty of times. I probably could save zero point 0.5 mil at most, or maybe even a mil if I really pushed hard on that player. But I'm going to start him just because of this somewhat love affair that he doesn't know that we have, but I do. And then Carvalho, I think I think I said at the end of the stream last week as we spoke throughout my team and had a look at stats and players moving elsewhere. I think if you're going to take a risk, I think it's all right, but I feel like I was a little bit rash with how many risks I was taking.
Hmm.
Whereas here, I've I've definitely minimized the amount of players that I'm just chucking in that have just signed for a new club, with Carvalho being that sole signing, really, that's especially the starting this game week. But I'm going to go for him for the time being. And then Haaland, Solanke, self-explanatory. And I think it was you that even suggested Stuart Armstrong because he's someone that can just sit throughout the season on the bench. You know he's going to play unless he's injured or suspended, and you never know. He might just come in when you least expect it and have bagged. So I think that's a sensible person to have on the bench. Gvardiol will come in at some point. I just don't feel like they're going to keep a clean sheet against Chelsea. But alternatively, could always bring him in for Carvalho if I don't fancy him starting. Smith Rowe is a future game player. I know I said I'd only take the one risk with a new signing, but as we've clarified previously, Brentford and Fulham's fixtures are really well intertwined with one another. So it's unlikely that both those players will see the starting 11 in the same game week. They'll probably rotate with one another, which could work out quite nicely. And Leif Davis, I'm up for debate with him, but I think it's one of those really where you never know until you see a few games. But yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. There's one player I think that should be in this team that isn't,
Yeah,
and it's Alexander Isak. Where is he?
I just don't have the funds, to be honest. That's the only issue.
Are you not worried about him popping off?
Mm. Well, I've got Gordon,
Hmm.
and I think the issue there is I think the only way I can really see myself like justifying being worried about him popping off is by also being worried about Haaland popping off. So keeping him, I'm really going where my heart actually, well, not even my heart, where my gut tells me,
Hmm.
which would be if I really needed to reduce my funds, would be to take Salah out for another Liverpool asset.
Would you not be tempted maybe to go Salah for Jota and then go Armstrong up to Solanke? I mean, up to Isak.
It's not a bad shout, isn't it? I think it's just the way that we start the season. Who knows what's going to happen? I think
Hmm.
the majority of people that will have kept Salah in, like myself for now, just know that Salah will play. It doesn't matter who. is in the technical area, Salah will start. I think the other two positions are up for grabs. I do feel like Jota, you'd imagine, will start the season, especially after how he played against Sevilla on Sunday. Don't know if anyone caught that goal he scored. Very nice, but yeah, I mean, I think we mentioned at the time when we were streaming, it does seem like that would be that usually that you'd field that starting 11 you're planning on starting the season with when you've got that final preseason game.
Hmm.
Um, that being said, just to throw a spanner into the works, they played another game 4 hours later with the second team, so who knows what's going to happen there. But I think Jota will be the preliminary pick for a Liverpool second choice player
Yeah.
after Salah.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure about Diaz's clinicality in front of goal. Not sure about how like whether Gakpo starts. I think he's a striker, is he?
No. Yeah, he is. He is. He is.
Is he? Yeah. So yeah, I think Jota does make the most sense if I were to downgrade there.
Okay. I think that's just like the big absentee I've noticed is Alexander Isak. He seems to be an ever present across the board for most people's teams, and he's just not in yours. I think that Newcastle fixture run at the start, I think he's pretty much essential, to be honest.
You
That's
reckon?
yeah, yeah. Like
Well, would you just swap him for Solanke? Because I have got the money.
it's one of those. I feel like Solanke's a punt, but he's not like
Mm.
a real like risk punt, if you know what I mean. Like I'm expecting him to play a lot at the start of the season, but I think Isak will outscore Solanke over the opening 5 weeks.
Because I do have enough money to just swap Solanke for Isak.
I just think like looking at the fixtures, they've got if I actually want to put it on the right week. So Southampton at home this week. They're playing
Yeah.
Leicester away. That could go 50-50, but you'd probably back the home player with that one. I think as well, Dominic Solanke's probably only going to play maybe 70-80 minutes. I think Isak could play the full game.
Okay, so what would you recommend? Would you do the Salah down to Jota and Armstrong up to Isak, or would you just go Solanke for Isak?
I think
So then you've got
I think you could do either of those, but for me, I think you're realistically going to be picking one of Salah or Haaland this season, not both
yeah.
of them. So I think if you
Mm.
did Salah down to Jota, because realistically, like one of those two, you're going to be captaining every single week, and
Yeah.
you're not even captaining Salah against Ipswich, which on paper is probably his easiest fixture over the opening five.
Yeah, fair enough. I do get that. I think it's just looking at it first. I think it's just anyone bar City, if they're playing away to a newly promoted side, you'd have to just be skeptical in that first game. I think that first game can be a bit
Hmm.
of an anomaly when it comes to results. I mean, I think we saw Brentford beat Arsenal in the first home game and then weren't quite as good as everyone anticipated, and Arsenal were a lot better than everyone anticipated. So I feel like that could even happen there. We could. I'm not. Who knows? I could be wrong, and Salah could absolutely slap. But I just feel like it's that first game of the season. Ipswich are going to be right up for that, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Obviously, being at their home ground as well, I think that will give them a slight advantage, to be honest. But if you maybe take away the romantical side and look at some of the data, it is suggesting that you're going to win 3-0
Quite convincingly. Yeah.
quite convincingly. And I think sometimes that's what you have to do, especially with fantasy football, is take away your, brain and look what the numbers are saying sometimes.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, I mean, I guess the one thing I would say is if you do, yeah, if I do keep Salah and Haaland, I have then got the opportunity with the funds to downgrade Salah. But then, do you want to be using a transfer to take out Salah when it's just he could pop off at any week? I feel like that's the issue. Really, you kind of
Mm.
have to accept. I think you have to accept if you've not got Salah in your team, you're going to miss out on a lot of points, come like one way or another, aren't you?
Well, the same goes for Erling Haaland as well, doesn't it?
Exactly,
But
exactly.
it's kind of trying to find the right balance between the two, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's say we go with the first approach rather than just going Isak for Solanke, which would then mean that I'd have the same starting 11
Hmm.
because I don't know if there's anyone that you bring off the bench. Would you play Gvardiol over Carvalho or what?
I think I'd take a look at who's predicted to play. If Carvalho's not in predicted lineups, probably would start Gvardiol over him.
Yeah, okay. And then let's say that we go for Armstrong to Isak, keep Solanke in, take Salah out for Jota. We still have that 3-4-3.
Hmm.
I still feel like and I know I've got Carvalho and Smith Rowe that are going to rotate, and that works quite nicely. Am I missing a little bit more strength? Like, do you think I should be having? Do you think I'll regret not having an Arsenal player in the whole squad?
Yeah, I think you will. I do think you will. We'll come on to it a little bit later, but they are one of the top teams for projected clean sheets, projected goals as well over the opening 6 game weeks. Like, I know they've got some difficult fixtures in there, but I was looking at it today. They scored in both games against Aston Villa, the North London derby every
I just
single
had
year. Go
just
on.
had my naked girlfriend just walk across the screen, and I just saw her head just bob up. Couldn't couldn't hide it. So
Oh,
yeah, after this, guys, if you want to subscribe to my OnlyFans, I'll be on until 10.
oh, for fuck's sake.
Sorry, mate.
No,
I
but
thought I could get away with it, but then I just saw the head bob up on the side of the screen.
um, what was I going to say? Yeah, they've got Villa in game week 2. They scored in both of those games. They scored against Tottenham as well. Like, the North London derby seems like a game where there's always going to be goals, especially with the way that Ange sets up as well. So I think outside of the City game, I would back Arsenal to score in every single game. So maybe you are missing out on an Arsenal player.
Okay, okay. Well then, just having a little look.
Yeah, have a little tinker. Go on.
Well, I'm just so hypothetically, so work with me here. So I put Jota in for Salah.
Hmm.
I then let and then I want to say I then put Solanke back in for Armstrong, and I have Isak in.
Yeah,
But then is Solanke a bit of a punt, and am I maybe worth keeping Armstrong, having Isak,
yeah.
and then putting my money elsewhere? I've got so if I have the same defense that we haven't touched so far,
Hmm.
Jota in for Salah, the rest of the midfield the same, Haaland, Isak, and let's say Armstrong.
Yeah,
I've still got 5 million in the bank, which means that I could then upgrade maybe a defender to maybe a Gabriel.
yeah, yeah. Could happen.
Let's see if I did that for. Let's just say I did it for Leaf. Bless Leaf Davis.
Could you
I've still
then?
got 3.5 mil to
Could you
spend
get?
on a mid.
Could you get Odegaard?
8.5 mil. Yeah, I could.
Covers off Arsenal.
And then let's just have a look here. If I then go on affordable, because I was quite. Oh my word, mate. Oh my God. Oh my word. This actually works quite nicely here because you bring in Odegaard for Smith Rowe,
Yeah,
but then I've lost that Carvalho and Fulham link. But I've got
I get
six
that.
mil for Muniz.
Oh, there we go then.
All right, it's done. This is what this stream's for.
It's basically just for you just to go, oh, actually.
Yeah, everyone's in the stream really jealous that they don't get first-hand opinions. They have to wait for you to bloody reply to their comments on a deadline day stream. Meanwhile, I'm here just like, yeah, I'm just here. Yeah, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? But
Yeah,
yeah, well, so we've now got Pickford, Porro, Kwanzaa, Bolly.
yeah,
Although we'll probably put Gabriel in over Kwanzaa, I think.
yeah.
Jota, Gordon, Gibbs White, Odegaard, Haaland, Isak, Muniz. Probably put Carvalho in for Muniz.
Okay. All right, I can get on
Take the
board with that.
risk. But that's definitely looking a little bit stronger. I reckon the prediction rating would look better. It just gives it a bit more heart in the team, doesn't it? You are right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, mate. On
No
to the
worries.
rest of the viewers.
Oh dear. Right, let's answer some questions from you guys. Make sure you are getting them in. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and like I said, comment as well. Fixtures aside, who's got the better defence, Southampton or Leicester?
um, I'd probably say Leicester just because of how they won the league, but then I feel like you kind of just have to see how the teams do in the Premier League. But I mean,
Hmm,
if you're going to go by the fact by history and by like, of course, they both came straight back up after going down. I feel like Southampton were a lot more leaky than Leicester.
they were.
Um, and so yeah, and then Leicester won the league quite comfortably, albeit a bit of a blip at the end of the season. So I'd probably say Leicester's defense looks a little bit more assured. Bella Kotchap, he's left Southampton, has he? He's
Yeah,
got, or
he
is he
didn't.
going to Hoffenheim?
Yeah, he's on his way. He didn't feature too much for them last season. Harwood Bellis is the tasty one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like he's won back to back promotions now with Burnley and Southampton from the Championship. Like
Well,
you don't do that at a young age, like by mistake. You know what I mean?
yeah,
One team, okay, maybe it was a system. Two teams, I think there's a player in there, to be honest.
yeah. No, I do see that, but then at the same time, you can't just be completely overshadowed by the fact that the rest of your defense is a bit of a shambles. So he could be brilliant. He could have a good season, but it could still go tits up. So if I were to back a player, if I were to back a clean sheet, I'd probably be more likely to back Leicester against Tottenham, let's say,
Yeah.
than Southampton at Newcastle. And granted, one's at home, one's away, but I think if they are both away from home, I'd still fancy Leicester more than Southampton.
Okay. Okay. Someone says I added Delict. Is that a good option? No.
5 million, it's a bit of a pricey one for someone you don't know how it's gonna gel. Look at me telling people that you're taking too much of a gamble on a new signing, but
I don't think he's going to play tomorrow either.
It's United as well. I feel like one, it's the risk is just adding up on itself. One, you've got United's very abhorrent run of just shoddy defending.
Mm.
You've got De Ligt who's there to save them, but he's not been implemented. He's not played. It's only just really gone over the line. You're saying he's not even going to start, and that could be the case. But even if he does start, he's starting in a side which he's not used to and is known for being quite leaky. Um, and you've got Mr. Andre Onana who just wants to be the center of attention all the time. And so even if De Ligt does have a decent start or does get a good run of minutes, his goalkeeper really doesn't hold himself accountable very well.
No,
So clean sheets could be hard to come by.
yeah, I think you can't go from being the 16th worst defense in the league to then all of a sudden in one game or one set of preseason games fix that. I think that's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel over this course of the season as well.
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely. And I also feel like teams are going to still fancy playing against United. I think Fulham beat United, I think, last season at Old Trafford,
Yep.
and they will go there with the belief that they can go and do it again. So yeah, before until United actually quash that and make teams realise that going to Old Trafford, especially, is a difficult place to score, then it's a bit of a reluctant decision to make, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I feel like you'd even have Fulham going to Selhurst Park, for example, and even there, would you be more wary of them scoring against Palace than you would against Man United at Old Trafford, which definitely needs to change if you're going to bring an asset in.
Yep. Next question. Thoughts on Mbuemo?
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad idea. We seem to end the season with a couple of goals. I know they had a bit of poor form, struggled a little bit towards the back end of the season, but he seemed to pop up when he came back from his injury with a couple of goals. But yeah, I mean, especially with Igor Thiago out for a while. Who knows what's going on with Tony? Because I know he was benched a lot towards the end of the season. Um, I think he's not a terrible shout at all. And I mean, if they're going to get something at home to Palace, then he's probably going to be part of the reason why.
Yeah, I think I'd avoid, to be honest, for the opening few weeks.
Yeah, me too. I think he's a terrible shout.
Yeah, no, I think like you said, all the points you made were valid. To be honest, it's just mainly the fixtures: Liverpool away in game week 2, City away in game week 4, Tottenham away in game week 5.
I know, but I do think the Fulham and Brentford little clash does really work very nicely, especially if you've got two players that can rotate. I don't think that's a terrible thing at all because you say that, but like you sent me a few weeks ago,
Mm.
when those difficult games are playing, he sits on the bench, no doubt, that's fine. But you've got a Fulham asset potentially who can come in. And I think that is a really good way of playing it personally.
I get that. I just think spent putting a 7 million player on the bench for me would just be painful over the opening few
Yeah,
weeks.
okay, no, you know what? I understand the price tag being a bit of a drawback.
Mm.
Hence why I've gone for that maybe more of a risk, but cheaper risk in Carvalho.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's but he's signed because he needs to play first team football. There's no doubt about that.
Mm.
So he will play Carvalho at some point. And I don't think it'll be before. I don't feel like it'll be a while before he does start games. So I think someone like him might be someone, even if you're not like too keen on bringing him in so far because he has just joined and stuff, and you've not got any delusion in your brain like myself. Then keep an eye on him because I definitely think someone like that is a good asset to have to rotate. But yeah, I do get your point of 7 million being a bit too much to bench all the time.
Yeah. Next question: Son or Saka?
I think I think I actually can't remember who had. I feel like Spurs had a slightly better start to the season.
I think both are
Just
equally difficult.
Spurs are at home to Arsenal is maybe the only differentiator in game week 4.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know, hence why I've not got either. I'd say I
I
think they're
I
both
have
a little
both.
bit.
I have both, so I don't think I'm really in the camp to say one or the other.
Well, if you had to have one or the other, who would you have? Because you forced it on my head with Salah and Haaland, and I've decided
I think I'd have. Ooh, I think I'd have
it's
Saka.
hard, isn't it?
I think I'd have Saka because I'd then try and get Solanke in.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas I wouldn't be as confident picking Havertz, Jesus, Trossard. You know what I mean?
hmm
Gavardiol or Gabriel slash Saliba.
Um, Probably Guardiola.
It depends what system City use and how he's playing. If he's playing like he did towards the back end of last season, Gavardio 100%. If he plays like he did in the Community Shield, where he was part of a back three at times, I would be tempted with the Arsenal boys.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that. It's the reason you're going for Guardiola is because he can pop up with a goal or an assist.
Yeah, 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 100%. I'll show my team in a second. Don't worry about that one, guys.
Not the
Eze,
desperate after seeing my shambles.
bloody hell, we need a good one. That was a joke. That was a joke. Bit of comedy.
It's good, mate. Good, good.
Eze,
Keep it coming.
Eze or Raya and Porro.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think Eze's an interesting one. You say he's off to City, did you?
Yeah, as we'll see with my team and the video I was filming just before we went live as well, my updated draft slash team selection because of obviously Eze leaving, things have now changed. So that will be
Has
out.
that actually been confirmed?
It's being rumoured, and obviously because of the Oscar Bob injury, apparently they're just going to activate his 60 million buyout clause.
Wow. Wowza.
So there's not even like any kind of back and forth with Palace. He's got that buyout clause. If they activate it, straight to him, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine him in a City kit, but
yeah, not good.
but yeah, yeah. So I think you're gonna have to go with the what was the alternative?
Raya
Porro
and
and
Porro. Yeah.
yeah, I'll go with that. Although even there, I probably would save you money than going for Raya.
Cool. Is ESR the best 5.5 million?
He's definitely up there, but
Mm.
I think it's one of those where you um can't confirm that until you see how he plays for Fulham. He's definitely got the potential to be the best, but it's like when we had Palmer, such a bargain. No one would have thought he'd be the best for his price tag until we saw just how good he was for his price tag, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
got to just wait and see. But yeah, he's definitely one of those that could be that little shining undervalued player towards the midway through the season.
You mean towards the start of the season? There we go.
Something, yeah, between us, I reckon I meant what we both said, so we'll
Yeah,
go
yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
All right, cool. We're going to move on to my team, and then we will answer some more of your guys' questions. So do keep those coming in. I just need to switch everything around. And beautiful. Here is my team. Very similar to the one that was included in my team selection video. However, like I said, I have had to change a few things round with some of the Eze rumours as well, and obviously have made a new video on that one as well, so that will be dropping after this stream does finish. Henderson in goal, I think best 4.5 million goalkeeper. Last season, Crystal Palace were fifth for XG conceded. We've got a back three that realistically most weeks are going to play. That is Gavardiol, Pedporo, and William Saliba. All very much up there in terms of 11FI's predicted clean sheet data. Pedporo as well for attacking returns could be an absolute cheat code. The two bench defenders are Lewis Dunk and Harwood Bellis. The reason I've gone for those two is they rotate around the difficult fixtures for Pedro Porro and Saliba. I think it's Ipswich for Harwood Bellis, and then it's like Nottingham Forest and Wolves at home or something like that for Lewis Dunk. So a pretty good set to rotate when William Saliba faces Arsenal and Manchester City. The midfield is Son, Saka, Salah with the armband, and Cuckoo has come in for Eze, and then we have Anthony Gordon, and then a front two of Muniz and Alexander Isak. Thoughts on that one, lad? What are you saying?
Yeah, it's. I think it's the alternative of what you'd go for if you didn't have Haaland, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think now that you've basically taken my team and made it your own FPL Tom Reserves, as it is named, I think it isn't too dissimilar from your own now. And the only different, it's quite nice actually, a little bit of an experiment really to see how it works with Salah in and how it works with Haaland in,
Yeah.
because both teams look a lot stronger now that you've tinkered with mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've got a lot of similarities because the back three is pretty much identical bar the Arsenal centre back. Um, you've got Salah, Son, and Saka. I've got Haaland. And so, yeah, we'll see if that works out nicely for me. But then, other than that, it's pretty identical, of course, with Muniz and Isak. That's who I now think I'm going to commit to.
Yeah.
Gordon as well. Do you think it's overkill of two Newcastle players, or are you quite confident
No,
there?
I think they're going to have a really good year this year. I think having Tonali back, I think having Joel Linton back as well. I think that midfield is going to be great, and it's just going to be feeding that front line.
And what do you think about having no Forest players?
It was a toughie. It was a toughie. I mean, the big one for me was either Chris Wood or Muniz, but the reason I went for Muniz is just because he's top of predicted points. He's even more for 7.5 million forwards and under. He's actually predicted to outscore Dominic Solanke over the opening five.
Wow.
So that's how highly like the algorithms are rating him and stuff. So that's the reason I've selected him. And I think with I think it was Nuno said basically like there was a comment he made today about Awoniyi being back, sort of. So I was like,
Yeah, that's why I was a little bit reluctant by him.
so I
But
was
I'm
like,
just looking at your two defenders. Would you not be tempted by a bit of Willie?
The only reason I've gone for that is because of the rotation. So I've looked all the way up until game week 12 because I think after that point I probably would have already wildcarded. But there were game weeks where I needed someone realistically were 4, 5, and 9 to cover difficult fixtures for City, Arsenal, and Spurs. And the player that fitted all of those game weeks the best was Brighton and Southampton. Now that's not to say Nottingham Forest haven't got decent fixtures. They've got Brighton away and Fulham at home in 5 and 6 when I might need somebody. But then it's the game week 4 one where Arsenal are playing Tottenham, so I'd have Porro and Saliba up against each other, and if I went for Bolly, he'd be playing Liverpool away.
I know, but that's what the transfers are for, isn't it?
It is, but I'm kind of looking at this team thinking I don't have to touch it for a few weeks.
Yeah, well, if you don't have to touch it for a few weeks, then you could, on the alternative look on it, not touch it for a few weeks with Bolly in the team, and then in 3 weeks' time,
But
then you
I
can
don't,
touch it.
but I don't know when I'd play him. I genuinely
First three games.
no, I don't think he starts over any of those for the first three.
Probably start him over on Cuckoo.
No,
Okay. He
I,
wasn't in your team last week.
he's always been on the periphery though. He's always been like there or thereabouts. I've always just fancied Eze and Gordon more, but with Eze now being a doubt, I've gone for Nkuku.
Right, we need to make a list of these things and these quotes that I'm saying, but Bolly will have more points by game week 3 than Nkuku. I'm
Wow.
saying that now.
Okay. Bolly, by what week was that?
After so when it comes to the fourth game week where you said Forest have a bit of a tricky game,
Liverpool away, yeah.
yeah, he'll after the 3 games played, Bolly will have more points than Nkunku.
So they've got Man City, Wolves, Palace as their three, and he's
Yeah.
got Bournemouth, Southampton, Wolves. Okay, all right. It's a big.
Probably should have put my money where my mouth was with Gibbs White, but for whatever reason, I think my argument here is the fact that I don't mind Nkunku in your team, and so I'm not going to argue Gibbs White for Nkunku. I get that. I'm just saying the defences maybe you could have Willy Bolly there just in and around the team. So that's why I'm gonna put the competition with Bolly and Nkunku, not Gibbs White.
Okay.
Because yeah, I think Nkunku's a great shout. I do, but yeah, I think you might come to rue not having a Forest player in the first 3 weeks.
Okay. I just think realistically, like, I'm not gonna play them. I'm just gonna play all those bigger boys. They've got higher projected clean sheets every week. The betting data fancies them to do a lot better as well. Because I was looking at Rob T FPL's one. I retweeted it. Let me just get it up if Twitter wants to load. Just bit of elevator music here. Talk amongst
Dun,
yourselves.
dun, dun. What
The
was
one.
that? Eintracht music or whatever it's called.
What?
Oh, that's
What?
the proper elevator music. I don't know how it goes, but it's proper like. Oh, shall I find it? Oh no, I can't play it on
Can't
YouTube.
play
Can
it. Come on. We don't want to get a copyright strike. Let's not diddle about here.
It
Uh,
goes like
Here it is. So it's the predicted clean sheets, right, for game week 1. It is Forest at 24%. That's what
Yeah,
they
I'm
are.
I'm taking that 24% and absolutely running with it.
Well, I'm just looking elsewhere. Like Tottenham's 31, Arsenal's 52, City's at 25. So even City with a difficult fixtures has 1% probability more likely to happen.
All right, well, we'll put a pin in it and we'll see.
All right.
I mean, I'm not at the end of the day, if I prove myself to be wrong,
Mm,
then I'll hold my hands up because the team does look very strong. But when we first did this draft, I think we both were tempted to have triple Forest.
mm.
I've remained to have double Forest, although I might have dibbled with different players
Mm.
specifically. You've removed them all from your team.
Well, this is my thought, right? This is the thoughts I've been having for a few days. The non-Haaland drafts look a lot stronger, and I feel like everybody in my team, Bart and Cuckoo and Muniz, could get a double-digit haul.
In the first game.
Not well, like any of the opening 5 games. You
Oh,
know what I
just
mean?
full stop, yeah. Okay.
Whereas, like with your team, outside of Haaland, who are you realistically saying could get a? You'd be confident to back getting a double-digit haul.
Let me just
Maybe
pull my
Jot.
team
Like
up.
I think Jota's fine to chuck in there with
Well, I
Ipswich.
mean, Isak now, Gordon, now that I've gone with
Yeah.
your
Well, they're
but
both in mine as well. So
Odegaard. Well, I'm just going to quote a few players back to you that you've given me.
no, but I think he's a good player, but I wouldn't bank on him to get a
Would you
double
not be
digit haul.
tempted to put Havertz in there then?
The thing is with Havertz, right? Is I think there will be just a game where if Arsenal aren't winning, they'll just drop him back and chuck Jesus up.
But then you've still got Havertz on the pitch.
But I don't want a striker who's going to be playing midfield. What's the point?
No, I get that, but you'd rather have the striker playing in midfield when he's in your team than have a striker that's been substituted early.
Nah.
Fair
Give me
enough.
give.
If Isak's having a stinker,
Mm.
then they will take him off. If Havertz is having a stinker, they'll push him back, like you say.
But I think they'd take him off as well, though. Like I
You
think,
reckon?
yeah, I feel like they'd leave Isak on. I don't think they'd leave Havertz on if he was having a stinker.
Does Callum Wilson still play for
He
Newcastle? Is
does.
he
He
still
does.
hovering around there?
Yeah, they
And they've
signed him.
just signed someone else, haven't they?
Yeah, from Sheffield United. Osulu, is it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But
On
yeah,
midfield of a future. We'll
that's all
see.
I'm thinking is I just look at that team and I think I just think there's a lot of players in there that could just pop every
Mm,
single week. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, we shall see. But that that double Forest is my little is my what's the word?
Gem.
My secret weapon, yeah.
Nice. All right. Okay. Okay. Let's answer some of your guys' questions before we move on to some predicted points and other data. Who would you replace Eze with? Sorry.
It depends. It depends if you mean just price wise or if you just need to bring someone in full stop.
I think let's say
Um,
between 7.5 and 5.5.
Well, I mean, Gordon probably is the expensive one you'd go for. I think 5.5. You've chucked a few names around. I know, like you were at one point considering the likes of what was his name, Morgan Rogers, like
Yeah.
people like that who are quite cheap as an alternative. Um, I think if Eze goes, I think if it's not Forest, if Palace are going to get anything this season, a lot of eyes are going to be drawn to Ismail Assar, you know. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on, but maybe not to bring in straight away. I'm going to have to throw it out there and say Morgan Gibbs White has one hell of a few like start of the season, so I don't think he should go under the radar. And then yeah, I mean Jota's another expensive one, 7.5 if we're talking in that bracket,
Hmm.
but he's also someone that could get a couple of goals. So there are plenty of options. I'd probably say the standout one.
Oh. Who was the standout one? It cut out.
Did I disappear? Anthony Gordon
Yeah, I think a lot of people already will have Gordon as
and
well.
Gibbs White will probably be the rogue one that I'd recommend.
No, I think Gibbs White's a good shout. I think Nkuku's a very good shout as well to have. Jota is the big risky one, but it's high risk, high reward with him.
Yeah, and you're saving the money on Salah there
Yeah.
potentially.
Boom, 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 boom. Jamie put watch Bolly get a couple of goals in the opening few game weeks now. It's written, isn't it? It's
Get
written.
in, Jamie, lad.
Do you reckon Rodgers will play? If so, could he be a great enabler to fit Cavadio and an Arsenal defender in your team? I think he could be a good enabler, and I expect him to play the opening few weeks before Champions League starts kicking in.
Yeah, and I mean, if Champions League starts kicking in, do you not think he'd continue to play and they'd potentially play other players during Champions League games? You never know.
Yeah, yeah,
Having him
potentially.
on the bench, having him in your squad isn't the worst thing in the world because it allows you to just observe and see how the start of the season goes.
Yeah. Wood stronger than Muniz? Question mark. No, we kind of had this debate. We're both more leaning towards Muniz with
I
quite
think it is
slow.
that Aoioni, isn't it? That's the
Yeah,
real risk.
yeah, yeah. Someone said, should I put a United player in? Not for me. I think there are better teams to target at the start of this year. It still feels like they're in transition. Not the greatest opening set of fixtures. It feels like a proper United set of fixtures where they could very easily just go and lose all of them. You know what I mean?
Mm. I do. I would though. I would say if you were going to have someone, I'd think Garnacho's. It's going to be Garnacho and Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, of course, as much as he's 8.5 million, which if he has a season that he should be having for his standards, we know he's capable of. That should be a bargain. But who knows how this will go? Like you say, it could be just another dull start to the season. I think if you're a United fan, though, I think you should be putting a Bruno or a Garnacho in your team. If you're just a football fan and fancy going for the best players, then yeah, I probably would give it a miss and just see how the season starts for them.
Yeah, agreed. Hall, Burn, Liveramento, which one? I think if you look at some of the predicted Newcastle lineups, Hall is at left back. Liveramento, I think, misses out, but just go and check any of the predicted lineups that we are expecting to see. Also, wait till Eddie Howe's press conference. He might give a few details away on that one, but at the moment, I probably would be a little bit bullish on Hall rather than Burn and Liveramento.
Hmm. Agreed.
Cool, 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 cool. Would you start Jebson for the opening game week? Also, would you start Rogers? I wouldn't start Jebson. I don't expect him to start, to be honest. I think he's going to be more come off the bench, to be honest. But it is what it is. Right, let's move on to some data from 11ify. This is projected goals over the opening game weeks. And I thought I'd kind of touch on this one because I found it quite interesting. Some of the top teams in this list. Liverpool topping the way across those opening 6 game weeks. Obviously a great fixture run as well, and they are expected to do quite well in terms of goals. So maybe the double up of both Diego Jota and Mohamed Salah could potentially be on the cards. What do you think about that one, lad?
Possibly, yeah. I think that's definitely if you're in a team where you haven't committed to Haaland.
Mm.
Um, but I think having one Liverpool asset in an attacking standpoint is definitely enough for the time being. Just whilst you get an idea of what slot's going to play, I think like we've discussed, Salah will play come rain or shine, so he's the easy option. Jota should play because of how he performed. Well, to be honest with you, I'm going solely from the last game he played, but the fact that he's fit, the fact that he is probably our best finisher in the squad, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start the season. But there are a lot more players that will be fighting for those positions. Um, so yeah, I would probably say one player is probably enough for the first game of the season, just whilst we have a little look and see what's going on with Slot's team and formation and how we perform, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to be a risk taker, I'd gamble on both Jota and Salah, and that was something that did cross my mind. Like Anthony Gordon hasn't played a preseason minute, and I think if tomorrow Eddie Howe came out and said, "Yeah, he's not ready," I'd be straight be there. Double Liverpool for me.
Fair dues.
Next up is Manchester City. The standout weeks for them are 2 and 4, and realistically, that's where you're going to be looking if you are going for the Erling Haaland captain train. Especially that game week 2 game against Ipswich, predicted to get 3.21 goals. That's the big one, isn't it? That's the big one if you are obviously going with the Erling Haaland captain. That's the week that could be the difference maker over the likes of myself and other managers that don't go for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is the one where you'd even be, like we said last week, if you've got Haaland, might even be worth a little triple captain very early in the season just to regret it for the final 36 game weeks. But you can understand where people would be coming from if they went for that.
Yeah, yeah. Arsenal in third place as well. The match day 1, match day 3, and match day 6, the big standouts for them. You brought in Odegaard as well now. Does looking at this data and obviously bringing an Arsenal attacker in make you feel a little bit more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was being a bit naive not having an Arsenal player because they have been very consistent throughout the past 2 seasons, really. They've just fallen short, but they have gradually, well, they've been very consistent in their improvements. And it's only been maybe gradual, but yeah, they haven't lost many players, if any, to name that would actually start for them.
Mm.
I'd probably say Smith Rowe's probably the only man that would even come close to that. And so they've kept the core of their side, which is definitely what you want if you want to go one better than they did last season.
Yeah. Let's move on to kind of some more lesser teams further down the list. I'm looking at Nottingham Forest. You've obviously been quite bullish on them this evening. We've spoke about Morgan Gibbs-White. Obviously, Chris Wood's been mentioned as well. All the way down in 15th. Does that concern you at all?
It does a little bit. It does. I'm not too sure where they've got that from. I assume it's from how they played last season against those clubs, is what I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
That would have a lot to play in it. And I am yet to do my beloved tactic of having a look to see what their head-to-head record is. So I'll be going and doing that soon after we finish this stream. But yeah, the fact that they're 15th does surprise me. I thought they'd be a little bit higher up, but I guess the fact that they're predicted to score
Mm.
in the first 3 games, which is promising. They're predicted to get 5 goals in. Is that five? One, two, three, four, five in the first 6, which isn't too bad. Um, when you really just bang it. I think I've got Gibbs White in who can create or assist, will be on penalties, and then I've got a defender. I'm not going all out on Chris Wood or only taking that risk. And I think the fact that they're only predicted to get 6 goals would clarify that even if Wood was the only man fit, you'd probably want to look elsewhere.
Yeah. And then the final two teams I wanted to briefly touch on, West Ham and Wolves, kind of stinking it up down the bottom, to be honest. Easy avoids if you're looking at any of those players, isn't it?
Wolves definitely. I think West Ham is a bit of a. It's a bit of a. You don't know what's going on. It's like a bit of a trap door. You really don't know what's
Mm.
underneath, and we'll just have to wait and see. I think once again, like I said, if you're a United fan, if you're a West Ham United fan, I wouldn't be surprised if you go for one of your assets, maybe a Kudus or a Bowen, go safe. And Bowen, as we've seen time and time again, will go under the radar when no one fancies him because we're going to go for this player, that player that have got better fixtures. Bowen will be a very consistent player and score against anyone.
Yeah.
And so if West Ham are going to have a good start to the season, one of them, if you take a gamble on maybe Bowen, let's say, it will pay off because he will be part of it. But we just got to wait and see how, really, if you're going to be sensible about it, you've got to wait and see to see how well they start and gel together because they've made some very promising transfers, but who knows how that'll actually cope in the Prem.
Yeah, I think Jared Bowen's the obviously standout pick. Year on year, he always massively goes under the radar, like you said. He's a player that I've outlined will be my Anthony Gordon replacement when the Newcastle fixtures fall off because I just love him. He always ends up in my team, and that's the way it is. But for now, I think he's probably an avoid. I think there's too much change at West Ham to know how he's going to cope. And obviously, with this data as well, I think there's just better picks to go for.
Yeah, but I agree with that.
Cool. Right, let's finish up on the last section, then we'll answer any of your guys' questions. Like I said, I will be live tomorrow for around 4 hours in total. An hour preview around 1 o'clock, and then a 3-hour deadline stream. So make sure you are subscribed and get your bell notification ready for that one. We are going to look at the Hub Fantasy Football Predictor Tool for the opening 5 game weeks. Obviously, if you want to go and check out this data for yourself or get your team rated for free by AI, use the link in the description. Mohamed Salah, we kind of had this chat on Sunday as well. Mohamed Salah slightly edging Erling Haaland, but realistically, there's not too much to split between the two, is there?
No, there's not. And I think, like we said as well, the fact that he's edging him on points ever so slightly would suggest that Haaland has scored a couple more goals, maybe,
Hmm.
or at least scored one more. So it's definitely up there. But I think it just goes to show how much of an asset Salah can be because he doesn't need as many goals to score more points than Haaland. I think, of course, the further down you go, that you realise just how important at least one of those assets is.
Yeah, definitely so. Some interesting names I wanted to pick out. Diego Jota, a man you've brought in there, quite high in the top 10 on that list as well. Does that make you feel a little bit more comfortable about having him over Salah?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the points and then you match that up with the price tag of those in and around him, he actually looks like one of the bargains if that were to come out true. Say that were to be the case, and
Hmm.
um, Hub Predictor actually smashed it with the points in the first 5 game weeks, then Jota would prove to be one hell of a bargain.
Yeah, two other players that are very close together as well. Martin Odegaard, one you've brought in, and then obviously Jared Bowen, who we've literally just spoke about, making it on here. We said he's going under the radar. Seems like the data rates him to do quite well as well.
Yeah, I think the data will rate him because even when he's been in a very defensive team, he will make something come out of nothing.
Hmm.
And so I feel like you can't forget that, which everyone will probably forget, um, ourselves included. For the start of the game week, we're only gonna well, you've said you're gonna bring him in when other fixtures die off, rather than looking at him and realizing that actually he's capable to score against anyone. And I completely understand why you wouldn't have him in now, but you've got to be wary of the fact that he will score against anyone. He'll pop up here, there, and everywhere. And I think he is one of those players that has done it time and time again, but will probably be the most overlooked for his value.
Yeah, agreed. I think when the fixtures are right, 7.5 million for him is a bargain.
Hmm.
Because if this is him with bad fixtures on the predicted points model, what's he going to be like when the fixtures are good?
Yeah, agreed.
So, you know. Last player I wanted to talk about was Muniz. As we can see on here, there are no other 7.5 million or less forwards on this list, apart from Muniz himself. Does that make you feel a little bit more confident going for him over Chris Wood?
Oh yes, definitely. I think how we looked at the last piece of data where Forest were going to struggle to find the back of the net as well. We've got the U's and R's over which striker will start because it's very unlikely both will. And then we know that Muniz will be starting. We'll have not too much competition. And he's starting on a side that seems to be quite well, they seem to suit him quite well because he scored quite a few really good goals last season.
Hmm.
I do think he is the right person to have, and that is just topped off perfectly. Like I keep saying, I can't get my head over the fact that Brentford and Fulham's fixtures match so nicely. So something like that, when you've got someone that will pop up with a few good goals when they've got decent fixtures, does make it ever so sweeter.
Yeah, definitely so. That is going to conclude today's team selection stream, but we are going to answer some of your questions before we do finish up today. Um, Someone's asked, what do you think about Jota and Salah in the same midfield? I'm all for it.
You've said, yeah, you've said you're all for it.
I think with some of the
Um,
data we've just gone through as well, it's definitely suggesting it's a good thing to go for predicted points, goal projections for Liverpool as well. Seems like a really smart thing to do.
yeah, fair enough. I'll allow that.
Martin has also said he likes the Fulham and Brighton rotations for defenders and midfielders. Have you taken a look at that? Maybe Minter, the 5.5 Brighton mid, might cross your mind.
Oh, do Fulham and Brighton have a good switcheroo as well?
Apparently they do. Apparently they do. Is that maybe twisted you a little bit?
I'll have to have a look into it because at least with Minter he's started and you say he's been doing quite well in pre-season.
Banging goals in pre-season.
Mm. Yeah, so he's definitely made, if he's hitting the ground running like he is, then maybe that's more of a sensible risk to take.
I mean, you could always drop
But
Leif Davis down to a 4 million Johnson who plays for Ipswich as well, so you've still got that cover off.
mm,
And then you could upgrade Minter from Carvalho, and then you've got that
yeah,
good rotation there.
the only issue there though is the first game week is Brentford are playing Palace at home, and I don't have any Palace players. Whereas Brighton, I believe, are playing away to Everton, and I've got Pickford in goal. So I think I'm going to want to manifest an Everton clean sheet there.
I mean, you could get some saves. Minter maybe just shoots 3 times at him, he picks up a save and then puts it in.
It saves a pen, but he scores the rebound.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said, how would I slot Palmer into my team? I think it's too difficult. And I think with Nkuku coming in at 6.5, I think he's just not. Like, he is still going to be a great player this season. We can see that with the predicted points. But it's that 10.5 million price tag that just makes
Yeah,
him so hard to get in.
definitely so.
Barco could drop new signing plus Estupinian in training. Yep, Barco, the 4 million defender that we were all raving about for pre-season, looks like that dream's dead. So if you've got him, get off him very quickly. Which 4.5 million defenders do you recommend? I mean, Jake's already alluded to it quite a lot in this stream. There's a great rotation pairing between Brentford and Fulham, Brighton and Fulham as well. Kwanzaa, who's in Jake's team at 4.5. You've got Anderson for Crystal Palace. You've got the Newcastle defenders as well in there. There's a plethora this season of
And
quality
you've got your
fullbacks.
little boy that you've been boasting about ever since the game started with big Harwood Bellis.
He's four. He's four.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, he definitely deserves a shout then.
FPL Bateman's in the chat. How's it going, mate? I hope you're doing good. Shane, one of our channel members, who says, morning team. Minter, Smith Rowe, and Wood are the freeway rotation, or kill one of the spots and get Eze and a 5.5 million mid or striker. I think with the rumours about Eze, I think maybe that 3-man rotation could work a little bit better. But we obviously have highlighted the issues with Chris Wood and rotation himself in that one.
Yeah, and you only need the two-man potentially. You could just stick to Brentford or Brighton and Fulham.
Yeah. Someone's asked, is Konza nailed? I think he is one of the first names on the team sheet, and I expect him to play all the way up until European football kicks in. I think with his versatility in positions as well, I think he's a great option. Some great fixtures for Villa as well after game week 2.
Yeah.
Muniz, Wood, or João Pedro? I think we both know where we're going to go with this one.
Yeah, Mooney's, unfortunately.
Muniz, 100%. Rogers or Brennan Diaz or Minter?
Um, I can't answer that question sensibly.
Lad, just
Um,
just look on the screen right now. Look who's just at the bottom of the predicted
I know I
points.
can't quite believe it, to be honest. How he's in a Southampton team who don't seem to be very much, don't seem to be backed much by the
Hmm.
bookies or by, quite frankly, anyone. And
Yeah.
yet there's Ben Brereton Diaz in the points prediction. If he hauls in the first 5 games, I will be kicking myself for not
I
having him
can't
in my
believe you've
team.
not gone for him. I can't believe you're all on this. Oh, Carvalho train. Where's the Big Ben train?
It's just that rotation. Like you're saying, the only thing that would tempt me is the fact that you say that Southampton rotate quite nicely with Spurs and Arsenal's fixtures.
Hmm.
Like when you said Harwood Bellis might come in, but then I feel like that might just be a transfer further down the line.
Lad, they've got Forest, Brentford, United at home, Ipswich, Bournemouth. That's a great run.
It's not even that bad though, is
It's
it?
a great run. That's a lot better than Brentford's run. You can't tell me it's not.
No, it's no, no. You're right.
Like,
I
and
love Ben Brereton Diaz,
you haven't
Tom.
got you haven't got a new
Like the next man.
you haven't got a Newcastle defender either, lad. So what are you worried about? You just want a goal fest at St James's Park.
Oh, that team review tomorrow when I post in Twitter could be interesting, especially when the armband's not on Haaland as well.
It's just slipped to Big Ben.
Yeah,
Whoops.
yeah. I think he could slap. I think, although I am a little bit surprised that he's in there when he has just signed for them. I know he did all right for Sheffield United in the
Hmm.
the minimal games he played, but yeah, I'm surprised he's actually made it in to this graphic so soon into his time at Southampton.
Well, would you like me to give you a little bit of something to whet the appetite as well?
Go for it.
It looks like with their formation as well, he'll probably play up front next to Armstrong.
Oh, don't know. He's the same price as Armstrong as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Ah.
And you get your clean sheet point, extra point
Oh,
for a
Tom.
goal.
Well, clean sheet point, I don't think I'm really worth playing with Southampton players for, quite
No,
frankly.
lad, I
But
think I think it's Big Ben season. You can't have him on this predicted points thing and not go for him.
you're all right. Who the flip do I take out now? Because
Well,
the way that I've done my team now means that I actually don't have any money left. So I'd have to be taking Carvalho out and someone else to afford that extra 0.5 million. Unless I take Muniz out and go Armstrong and Ben Brereton Diaz.
why don't you take
Well,
Davis
that
out?
would be an interesting one.
Drop him to a 4 million.
Davis is gone, mate. Davis is
Oh,
gone.
who's your
It'd be
how?
Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa would have to
No,
go.
surely you got to
Or
go.
Bolly. But I ain't getting rid of Bolly.
Surely Bolly. Bin off Bolly.
Nah, Bolly stays, mate. After I've made that big bet with Nkunku, I can't be getting rid of him now.
But you've got Big Ben. Big Ben in the team.
I'll have a think about it because I think there's definitely potential there. I think if anything, I could get rid of maybe a Ped Porro.
Oh no. What have you
Uh,
done?
I could get rid of maybe a Haaland. That's what I'll do. No
Yeah.
Salah and no Haaland, but
Yeah.
Big Ben.
Big Ben in. Cool. Let's have a look at
God,
other.
you've left me with so much food for thought tonight. I'm not sleeping this evening.
We've had some more questions about Chris Wood. We've obviously spoke about him being a little bit of a rotation option. Um, who instead of Barco? I mean, your 4 million defenders are Wout Fass, Bednarek, Harwood Bellis, Johnson from Ipswich, and then any of the other ones. But Johnson's a pretty good one because he should be playing right wing back. So there you go. Could Lewis Hall start? Yeah, I think he could. Some people are loving Ben Burton Diaz in the chat. Lots of the Big Ben Barmy Army. Like you
We
want
need
your
a bit.
Palmer.
We need a Ben Barres and little Jeffrey Schlupp.
But then at the same time, if next week he could be in bed shitter of the week.
Oh, he could be. He could be.
But he could be, you swan in here next week with like 80 points.
And they're all Ben.
Just all Ben. Ben's had a madness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see it this week, but if he does come in, it would he definitely does have a decent few games. But yeah, I
Mm,
feel like Newcastle will be too good for Southampton.
yeah. Smith Rowe or Ben Burton Diaz?
I think Smith Rowe, but you know what? The points on that graphic would say otherwise.
Mm, they would indeed. Porro and Gordon or Gavardio and Eze?
Well, I think that's answered after our conversation on this stream, would you say?
Yeah, I think with the rumours about Eze, if he does go, I think I would prefer Porro and Gordon.
What's stopping you from having Eze? Is it just the pep roulette? Is that what would stop you if you went there?
It's just if that clause gets activated, say like Saturday morning, he's not going to be in the Palace side, is he? So I'm just stuck with him. And then
Yeah,
then obviously he's moving to Man City. Like I think he'll go into the team because of injuries, but at the same time, I don't like. There's just too much risk.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas I could get in Cuckoo, who's had a solid preseason under his belt, probably going to start. Great fixture.
Saves you a bit of money.
Saves me a little bit of money and means I can get Lewis Duncan and have a little bit more of a stronger
Oh,
squad
get
as a whole.
in, get in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that's the reason why I'm just not going there. Unless like it comes out tomorrow that it's like categorically that move is off. He's not coming back in.
Fair enough.
Wood plus Nkuku or João Pedro plus Eze. I mean that's an easy one. It's gonna be Wood and Nkuku, but I would even change that to Muniz and Nkuku to be honest.
Yeah,
Armstrong is being overlooked. I mean, he's absolutely slapped it every single time he's been in the Championship. Premier League, though, just can't seem to score. But maybe this could be the year that he changes that.
yeah, and he's 5.5 million. He's definitely someone to consider
Yeah,
if you need to save a little bit of money.
yeah, agreed. And then the final question for today's stream, like I said, I will be live for 4 hours tomorrow. So if I don't answer your question now, there is plenty of time tomorrow. Thoughts on Declan Rice at 6.5 million? Looks like he could be playing a little bit further forward for Arsenal this year.
Seems to take the corners as well,
He
doesn't he?
does. He does. Are you tempted at all?
Not yet, but if you only have 6.5 million to bring in an Arsenal asset in the midfield, then maybe go for it. But then I'd probably argue if you haven't got any Arsenal assets and you've only got 6.5 mil, you should probably bring in one of the centre halves.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I think that's a fair assessment to be honest. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't really have any more to kind of say on that one to be honest. I think it's probably going to be a wait and see, isn't it, with him? And I think at 6.5, I think there's a lot more appealing players.
Yeah, if he was 5 million, I remember Jorginho a few years ago at Chelsea, he was really cheap and
Mm,
he was worth it because he would pop up with the odd penalty, but he was only 5 or 5.5 at most. When you're 6.5, you are really taking funds out of players that will get goal contributions every week.
yeah, yeah. 100% agree with that one. Like I said, guys, we are going to end the stream right now. Like I said, I will be live for 4 hours tomorrow. So, get yourself to those streams. But me and Jake,
You need to get yourself to bed,
I
lad.
know, yeah, big sleep for me tonight. But me and Jake will be back next week with this preview slash team selection as it was last year as well. So, weekly thing. It's good to be back, mate, isn't it? It's good to be back.
Good to be back. See you next week where we slander Ben Brereton.
See you next week.